God created me in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me in the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am. I am as God created me. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me. I am as God created me. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. I am. We are connected heart to heart, spirit to spirit, together we are joined in the promise of unity, in the vision of our greater yet to be. As we come together in faith, we align with the truth of who we are and realize we are standing in the presence, standing in the presence. We are standing in the presence of the divine. We are standing in the presence of the divine. We are connected heart to heart, spirit to spirit, together we are joined in the promise of unity and the vision of our greater yet to be. As we come together in faith, we align with the truth of who we are and realize we are standing in the presence, standing in the presence. We are standing in the presence of the divine. We are standing in the presence of the divine. We are standing in the presence of the divine. We are standing in the presence of the divine. Good, glorious morning, my brothers and sisters. Eddie Watkins Jr. here.
And Marianne Gennaro.
We are delighted to be hosting your Unity Transformation Knoxville Sunday service live this morning from Ocala, Florida. How y'all doing?
We want to give a heartfelt shout out thank you for joining us today for fellowship. We strongly encourage you to leave your comments, your suggestions, what you're feeling. We'd be so grateful.
We'd also like to give a shout out to Reverend Laura Beth and Michelle for joining us in our opening song, I Am As God Created Me. You were absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much. I want to remind you guys today that we have lots of good music, words of wisdom, beautiful stories, and a special guest.
Yes, and it's very exciting. A voice of an angel.
Yes.
Eddie and I were joined together to be of service to God. So here we are today, and we want you to sit back, relax, and embrace the message and the music of compassion, love, and forgiveness.
Marianne, I think it's time for the motivational tip for the day. What do you think?
I think I'm ready.
Take it away, Terrence.
Yes.
Good afternoon, T.Y. coming to you from Tampa. Tuesday's motivational video tip of the day. Quick thought for the day. There's an old saying that says, if you want to change the fruit, you've got to change the root. And once you change the root, then you'll change the fruit. You see, we cannot solve a problem with the same consciousness that created the problem. We've got to raise our consciousness level to be able to change that problem. Of course, I don't like to call them problems at all. I call them opportunities. So we're presented with an opportunity here in our country right now. But in order to change that, in order to work through this opportunity, we've got to start at the root. That's what it's about. And if we do that, if we start at the root, then we can change the fruit. It's the same for our country. It's the same for your life. If you do that, start at the root, it'll change your life. So get it in, peeps. Remember, the time is always now. Allow the universe to work in your favor and be blessed.
Are you ready to move this morning? Now is all we got. Now is all there is. Right here, right now, right here. Woo! Happening right now. It's all happening right now. It's all happening right now. It's all happening right now. Well, reach deep inside, free your mind from the binds of time. Right now. This is your destiny. All you see, yeah, it was meant to be. Right now, give it all you got to give. Just live. This is all there is. Right now, from the stars to the ground, all around, life is going down. Right now. Woo! It's all happening right now. Right now. today, guilt or regret. And if you're thinking about tomorrow, you ain't seen nothing yet. Now if you're thinking, and I'm thinking, stop. Well, free your mind from the not now. Let yourself go, stomp your feet, clap your hands and make some noise. Do the dance of joy. Free your mind from the not now. Let yourself go, stomp your feet, clap your hands and make some noise. Do the dance of joy. Free your mind from the not now. Let yourself go, stomp your feet, clap your hands and make some noise. Do the dance of joy. Gonna free your mind from the night now. Let yourself go, stomp your feet, clap your hands and make some noise. We gon' do the do. We gon' do the do the dance of joy. We gon' do the do. We gon' do the do the dance of joy. We gon' do the do. We gon' do the dance of joy. It's all right now, right here, right now. It's all happening right now. Free your mind from the pain that binds. Oh yeah, it's all happening right now.
Love is the bridge between you and everything.
I'd gladly walk through the desert with no shoes upon my feet to share with you the last bite of bread I had to eat.
I'd swim out to save you in your sea of broken dreams. When all your hopes are sinking, let me show you what love means.
Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Right now, I'd like to introduce this morning's speaker to you. Her name is Marianne Gennaro. Instead of giving you a list of her awards or accomplishments or events, I'd like to tell you from my personal experience that Marianne is an accomplished person. And what I mean by that is her willingness to forgive and her constant pursuit of being better than she was yesterday. She is always trying to grow
in every way. And also her kindness. I know this from personal experience because she is my life partner and my best friend. So I thought it was no better person to speak on what would love do now than Marianne, seeing as that her life has been an example of taking the path of love over the path of hate. So I'm going to do this song right now in honor of her talk to open you up for the message that she has for you. Just before you say something you can't take away, take a breath, then let it out. Try to think about what would love do now. Wondering if you should cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we try for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? 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 Marianne Gennaro.
Powerful song with a powerful message, sung by a powerful man. Everything is an act of love or a cry for love. We all know what an act of love is. What's the definition of a cry for love? It's a cry with pain, anger, shame, guilt, wanting to be loved. More than ever today, we need to ask the question, what would love do now? How can we be an act of love? Embrace those who need love. How can we react and respond to every opportunity that comes our way? God lives and breathes in all of us, compassion and love. But we're human. And at times our ego gets in the way, edging God out. It's at these times that we have to be gentle on ourselves. Just because we're spiritual doesn't mean we're not going to feel the emotions of anger, fear, being judgmental. We need to feel them. But being spiritual means having the tools to navigate through those emotions with love. Hate cannot coexist with love, and love cannot coexist with fear. We need to ask ourselves this question: are we showing up to be everything that God created us to be? And if not, we have an obligation to do so. Many times, I have wished that I had a direct line to God. I needed to talk to him. I would shout out, "Do you hear me? Are you listening to me?" God is listening to all of us. The question is, are we listening? There are two human reactions: fear and love. I say reject fear, embrace love, just the way the light takes away the darkness. The beauty of this, we have a choice. Just before you say something you can't take away, pause. Just before you cross that line for good, pause. Take a deep breath. Let it out. What would love do now? We are the face of God. One of my favorite mentors is Wayne Dyer. And many times over the years, he would say, someone can only give you what's inside of them. They're doing the best they can. But we have expectations. And although I feel those words are true, I strongly believe that we can change the programming of our DNA. We can break the cycle. How? By taking our thoughts, getting them in alignment with love, and believing them. By matching our words with our actions. Now that's powerful, because you can't be acting angry and then saying, God is good. Match your words to your actions. Affirmations and mantras daily. You can't have one blissful day and think that you don't have to repeat the process again, over and over. You want to be the best version of yourself. There's so much darkness that we're seeing and hearing. What can we do? Can we try to understand what's their story? When they hurt, I hurt. When they hurt, we hurt. Because we are all one. We need to guide our words in the direction of truth and love. Because every miracle begins with our words. I read this book over and over again called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. They seem so simple. I'm here to tell you they're not. But they are powerful. John quoted in the Bible, "In the beginning was the Word, and God was with the Word, and God was the Word." And he bestowed those words as a gift to us. We have a responsibility to watch what we say. Words can be very powerful, and let me tell you why. The children are our future. And when a child is nourished in fear and anger and verbal abuse, it grows into an insecure adult with low self-esteem. They live in fear. Everyone's opinions become how they see themselves. They can't move forward, and they act out. When I started to believe in my abilities and my strengths, and I changed the circle of my friends, doors started opening, and my life changed. We plant the seed in fertile soil of our mind. We need to be careful what seeds we are planting. Buddha quoted, "You are what you think, and what you feel, you attract. And what you imagine, you create." The second agreement is not to take anything personal. There are going to be certain opportunities that are going to come in your life where people are going to hurt you. And you're going to have to strongly believe that it's not because of you, it's because of their programming. My abuser was programmed in his childhood by a very violent father. He was in a dark place. So dark that he had no respect for human life. What I experienced broke me. And it could have left me resentful. What I learned was not compassion, but radical compassion. This is when you have to forgive someone who has hurt you deeply. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from deep within inside, what would love do now? I had to really pause and dig deep in this situation and wonder, was there anything that I could have changed? Could I have stopped this terrible violence? I couldn't, but God did. Every event in our life, which we can call opportunities, gives us the chance to decide how we want to be. God created me to be of love. It was hard for me to understand and grasp that the face of God is in good and bad. That was really difficult. Life-death experience. I'm now strong. God's grace over me, and he's gone. And one day, he shows up at my door. And I open the door, and there's this man standing there that's broken, a skeleton, discolored. It was sad. But what I witnessed was a child of God standing at that door. And I felt no fear. And I let him in. And he sat across the table from me, looking for forgiveness. And I gave him radical forgiveness so he could leave and rest in peace. But it was the beginning of my healing. And never did I expect that this opportunity of darkness that I traveled through would lead me to find my purpose in life. In an attempt to improve my speaking skills, I was negotiating contracts with anesthesiologists by phone, and the first time I had to meet them in person, I froze. And Toastmasters was the first step for opening up a whole new world to me. One evening, I was sitting at home, and I was having my conversation with God, and I said, I'm grateful for the grace that you've given me on my life. Now, how can I be of service to you? And a week later, the phone rang, and one of the distinguished Toastmasters asked me if I wanted to be a volunteer up at the Marianne Correctional Institute for incarcerated men and women. And I quickly said, yes. And I hung up, and I sat back, and I said, God, are you sure? I mean, I had been a victim. I'm now a survivor. I'm healed. Why this dark place? What do I have to offer? So the day comes that we go through the scanner and the barbed wire. And all along I'm saying, what would love do? I have to walk in there and I have to have an open mind. And when we walked into this room, we met 25 of the faces of God. And they stood up and gave us a standing ovation. They were so grateful that someone like us would come in and start a club for them. This was the beginning. And it wasn't until I gave my testimony of what I had gone through did I look into the eyes of these men and women and know what my purpose was in life. There were men that were crying because they had severely abused women. And here they got to know me and they were hearing my story. I had men who were telling me that their wives and sisters and mothers were still being abused. Could I help them? When I spoke to the women, they said I gave them hope, that if I could do it, they can do it. There were many times I had to dig deep. I was sitting in the midst of men and women who committed horrendous crimes. And all I could see was God's children. If you heard some of their stories, you may understand. Doesn't make it right, but what was done to them wasn't right. There's that cycle. Week after week, we sat, we shared. And I can only tell you that I didn't know at one point who was helping who. They were convincing me that I needed to go out and be a motivational speaker and to start with the children because that's where it started. You cannot hate and love God. As I would sit with them, they would tell me that I made them feel like they were special, like they were forgiven. I was able to do this because they were. Many of the men have re-entered into society. They're married, they have children, they have great jobs. They're helping other prisoners re-enter. From being abused to sitting with the abusers. What would love do now was a continuous question that had to be answered. Our stories become our way of expressing God's love. When one of them tells you that you were the brightest part of my darkest days, I know that God's listening. Everything we go through in life is an opportunity to see who we are in our hearts. There is only one energy in the universe, and that is God and His love. And love expresses itself in many ways. I hope that my message came through to you on radical compassion, forgiveness, and what would love do. I believe that if we all started with self-love, loving ourselves, forgiving ourselves, we can then generate that out to the universe. Is there someone in your life that you need to forgive? Is there an event that's happened to you or an opportunity where you can share your story? Contemplate that and then ask yourself this question: what would love do now? I always search for something that I want to leave, a little prayer or a poem. And I found this one. And actually it's labeled, "What Would Love Do Now?" So in closing, I'd like to share that with you. When faced with a decision, not knowing which way to go, choices lay before you, confusion blocks your flow. Worrying about the wrong one puts a frown upon your brow. Just ask yourself the question, what would love do now? All experiences are beneficial Even the bad ones play a part. They can break down the barriers to open up your heart. No matter what the problem, you can get through it somehow. But asking yourself that question, what would love do now? Whether just beginning your path, it's your course that you'll follow. Only you know what is right, which twist or turn to take ahead. Rest now or onward plow? Always ask yourself this question. What would love do now? A negative side has to exist for the positive to simply be. So you can always take that view, and a darker side you'll see. But if you choose the light, a channel of love you allow, you'll embody with each step. What would love do now? Namaste.
Father, Mother, God, we have come together this day in the name of love. We are so grateful for this time together to fellowship and connect. In the face of all the turmoil and unrest that surrounds us today, we ask only that your divine purpose be revealed. We seek understanding and move peacefully through the storm, knowing that there is stillness in the I am. In that stillness, we ask the question, what would love do now? Father, Mother, God, we let our deeds and our words be of the highest order of grace and wisdom as we move forward into this day. And so it is. Amen. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. No, we don't need another mountain. There are mountains and hillsides enough to climb. There are oceans and rivers enough to glass, enough to cross till the end of time. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Everyone. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love.